earlier, I think so, in the past few weeks, I delivered a lecture, and that was on Indian knowledge systems. And now, being a part of the IQAC, and with this trending thing which is called outcome-based education, and this is something which constantly our institutions are telling us to focus and to incorporate, and everything is happening, and how to go about it. We are overloaded with our work, and all of us have to incorporate this. So this platform through IoT Academy is, once again, like I always say, a platform where all the fine minds from various institutions can meet and discuss. And it's not like we are the person who's speaking, or the speaker for the session is the one who's only giving all the information. It's just giving a head start to something which is to be understood and then incorporated. So more than a session, it's just like a interaction, for which I would like to most humbly thank IoT Academy. Because I've always felt that this entire process from the beginning till the end is quite meticulous, and the vision which the Academy has is gradually shaping, and it's now having a lot of visibility. And I've been associated, and I really feel a great honor and pride to be a part of this. And hearty even welcome to everybody towards this evening. I know that we all are busy with our home chores, and we participate in an FDP. We want something for our merit and maybe a certificate, and then we even wish to learn. So taking and being a part of a session in the evening, it again is worth appreciation. Why? Because we want to learn something, even though it is out of our comfort zone after a long day at our institution. But attending this, even though out online, makes a lot of sense. So big round of applause to all of you. And with your permission, ma'am, I would like to start sharing my screen. And in this 50 minutes, I would just not try to give a lecture as such. I am the first person to begin with this session. So obviously, I feel a little anxious. Why? Because I should be able to set the tone for this upcoming 5 more days and have more clarity. So hoping to justify the role that has been assigned to me, I would like to start sharing my screen and discuss over the topic. Just give me a minute. Ma'am, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so again, a beautiful poster designed, and I would like to discuss and talk about the outcome-based education, a paradigm shift in teaching learning. We all are teachers. Once upon a time, many years, or we would say like few years back, we also were students. So when we are participating, or when we are a part of this lecture, my only request is, for these coming 40 to 50 minutes, let us just place ourselves not as teachers, not as professors. Just let us place ourselves as students in our days. When we were students, what were the kind of desires that we had? What were the kind of things that we wished, or how we compare our students of the present times, and how do we say that we were students? Let's put ourselves, or let's transfer ourselves into that scenario. Let's not be judgmental and think like teachers. Let's think like students. That's the way I believe this lecture or this session can make more sense. So yes, as the poster already reflects, that we are going to cover in this coming 6 days, introduction to outcome-based education, which I'm trying to speak on. Then we have the implementation and the accreditation. Then designing the curriculum for OBE, teaching learning methodologies in OBE, assessment and evaluation. So all of this gradually will be taken care of. And I would like to give a disclaimer right in the beginning that through my presentation, I am not going to go into the technicalities as to how to implement it and how is the curriculum designed or how do we have the teaching learning methodologies as such. I'm just going to create a picture. I'm just going to create a scene in front of you, a setting, and then everything can be placed by you in this framework of outcome-based education. So just imagining ourselves, and this is something where we have to assume that there is a target that we have to achieve, and how are we achieving this target? So my question once again to all of you is that leave alone students, leave alone anybody. Say, for example, you're married and you have kids, or maybe when you were young, what did your parents expect from you when you went to school or when you went to college? It'll be really great if I could get some answers in the chat box. That way, I will feel that we are having a kind of an interactive session. So what was the dream, or what was the thing that was in our mind when our parents sent us to school? That, okay, my daughter or my son is going to school, and once my son or my daughter completes her schooling or her graduation or post-graduation, what should be there all set with my child? Can I get some answers? Anyhow, I'll be following up, but then if I get some answers from your end, it will be really great. So I would just like to ask, is my screen visible? I believe yes. So if I could see some answers in the chat box. Okay, I see that to do our best and to be regular. Okay. Ms. Ketki, your answer is great, and you want that our child should be the best and our child should be regular. Okay, to acquire life skills. Can we get some more answers? We as students, or we as children of our parents, what did they expect from us? Can we have some answers? I would just like to quickly see. Okay, I can give secure life, become an educator. Okay, I see the answer of Sujata. She says, I can give secure life. Meeta Agarwal says, become an educator. Reverence. Okay, great. So yeah, I somewhere feel that answers that are coming, it speaks a lot about us and we as individuals. So yes, we all dream to be good citizens. We all dream to have a kind of a vision for ourselves and for our children. But then eventually, let's be very honest to ourselves, and let's you think and understand the things in the right way, or as I would say, just a minute, I'll put my video on. Okay, yeah, so let's mean business. What we like, if I'm putting my child has completed his schooling and now he's in college, and what I would want is after another 3 to 5 years, my child should be able to get a good job, get a good salary, should have a good living standard, and should be able to live his dreams or live her dreams. Eventually, that is the purpose of education, that we want to have a comfortable and a very secure life. Okay, that is something which we dream. So do we as teachers provide that kind of things? Or when we were young, did we get all those kind of things? Or it was like, okay, after we completed our graduation and still we are wondering like what kind of a thing I'm supposed to do? Do we have the clarity while we are doing our graduation? Or we still have to think that, oh, I never got all this kind of idea while I was studying, and now after all these qualifications and these mark sheets that I have in my hand, I have to think about it. So this is something which we have to keep on constantly thinking. Are we still in that kind of a setup? Okay, so here comes what we call the outcome-based education, and I believe in all our institutions, especially the IQAC coordinators and our HODs and our principals and all of us might be talking that we should have a vision, we should have a mission. Then there is this thing which is called as program education objective, then PSOs, and then program outcomes, course outcomes, and then eventually how to map all of this. And then there is a design that we have to follow. And then eventually all these things together eventually end up, and they are called as the graduate attributes. And then you have to literally mug up all these things. And how do we prepare a syllabus? We are so busy with all our parallel things happening. So eventually we take ideas from various sources and we try to align it. And then whatever we feel or seems good to us, what do is we collate all together, nicely structure it, edit it, and then we say this is the course and we start teaching it. Do you agree or no? Okay, this is at some point of time we do. If there is a structured and a set thing, it's fine. Otherwise, this is the way we design. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to go again, as I said, into the technical part of it. I'm just going to give you a vision and a mission and a strategy to understand what we are supposed to do. And then how we are supposed to do the coming days, this lecture will be dealing and explaining to us. So now when we talk about the vision and when we talk about the mission, so we should have indicators. We should have things in our hand which we should try to understand and explain. Now, when I talk about indicators, there should be some indicators of ours when we are trying to set the vision and the mission of our course. First of all, it is the professional qualifications or something which gives us a job at the end of the day. Like I said, idealistic point of view, being a good human being, being a good citizen, and being all of it is fine. But then eventually we have to earn our bread and butter. Our kids are going to step into their phase of life where they have to do a job and they have to take care of everything. Even if it's a homemaker, the mother should know how to teach her children. The mother should know how to incorporate everything that is happening around. So we should have professional qualifications, we should have employability. Then eventually what happens is this second thing which we called as metrics. Say, for example, the percentage of passing in a exam or the percentage of employment. You might have noticed that nowadays, whenever your session ends, your IQAC coordinator or the student file in charge or that criteria will ask you that please tell us the progression rate. How many went to higher education? How many have been placed? How many are going for competitive exams? Or how many people are not just doing anything and they're giving a gap? So are we able to actually give the, do we set a vision to have this kind of a data with us? Do we think subjectively or do we think objectively something that we have to pay focus on? And then eventually we get a what you call as target. Okay, how much ever we did, but our students are not giving us information. And say, for example, if we had a class of 50 students, 50 in a English major batch, out of which the sincere ones, only 25% have gone for higher education, 5% have been employed, and rest we do not know what they're doing. So eventually what happens is we have to provide the information, the framework in such a manner. I'll repeat, we need to have, when we are setting our vision and mission, these are the things that we should be having set in our syllabi. First of all is indicators. After our course, are the students, after their graduation, are they gaining any professional qualification? Are they employable? Are they able to give us the exact percentage of how many have cleared or not? And then eventually, how much percent of what student strength we have, how many have been able to set themselves or clear that benchmark that we have given. So this is something that we have to focus on. And then gradually comes in the program education this objectives, then the program specific outcomes and the program outcomes. And then we set for our respective papers. Say, for example, if I'm teaching English language paper, so my portion or my syllabus is divided into poetry, prose, and grammar. So my first course outcome will be that after my this entire syllabus, the student should be able to memorize few of the poetry sections, should be able to understand what is the literary device in a particular thing. Course outcome 2, the student is able to understand the prose part, and course outcome 3. So that's the way we design and that's the way we understand. Okay, but then how that actually happens is something which I'm going to throw light. Let's go on to the basics. We should understand how did this idea or this thing come into being. It was introduced, and I believe seeing the year when it was introduced, I feel all of us are around this age group. So it is not too old a thing that has to be incorporated. And this is somewhere in the 1980s, and this was introduced by William Spady. What is happening from the 1980s is that the education system or the way we are studying, it is moving from teacher-centric to learner-centric. Let's go back to days when our mothers or our parents, they were teachers. They used to go to school. I still remember. I remember my mother-in-law, she going to school, taking her classes. She used to be the class teacher. Maximum what she used to have is one register to maintain, and she had notebooks to check. And eventually, when she used to be in school only, that's the time when they used to complete the classes, and they used to come and they used to manage their homes. That's the thing that used to happen. I understand that the student strength also was less, and it was a wonderful teaching learning phase. And we still remember our missionary teachers and all of it. But can you place and can you still figure out that kind of a teaching in this present generation, where we have so many parallel things happening? We as teachers, we have our own set targets. We have to go and deliver lectures. We have to go and fill the attendance. We have to go and prepare syllabus. We have to prepare course plan. We have to do so many multiple things. So don't you think if the changes happened in the teachers' lives, so the students also are not the same? They are not that same student who used to just get up, the mother used to dress him or her up, and then eventually the child used to just go to school. Mother used to sit and make him do the homework, and then came television and all of it. But nowadays, the children even don't have notebooks, to be specific. They have their laptops, they have their gadgets, and they will not even, at a point of time in your class, listen to your lecture because they know everything is there on the LMS. So can we visualize that generation gap? And then we, on the other hand, keep on saying that in the earlier times, the teacher-student relationship used to be in this manner, and why it is not happening now. We have to understand that the time is also not the same. Change is stable. We have to understand that things are changing. When we have moved ahead, so why are we not even giving the opportunity to treat our students of the present generation, the 21st century, the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha category? Now, always we can begin with this mindset. It is habit number 2. I'll share about habit number 1 later, but habit number 2 says, begin with the end in the mind. That's why the first question that I asked to all of you, that when you were studying and at the end of your course or at the end of your graduation, what did you want? Nowadays, students say, I want to complete my PhD. What after PhD? Okay, after my graduation, I want to get a job. Which kind of a job? Are we making our students ready, or we are just teaching them? They give the examination and that's the end of it. When you're dealing in the class, are you just dealing with poetry, or you're making them understand that, okay, this poetry of yours, if you have interest, you can become a professor or a lecturer? Are we doing it, or we are just completing syllabus? That is the question that we have to ask. So yes, habit number 2 says, by Stephen Covey, that begin with the end in mind. When you go to your first class, you have to think on that very day, when your class begins, semester, odd semester first day, that on the odd semester last teaching day, what should my student learn from me before he or she leaves this class? That is something, if you have clarity in your mind, automatically everything will fall in place. And again, just for information, habit number 1 by Stephen Covey is to be proactive. So are we proactive, or we are just like, okay, one another day of college, one another day of school, and this is my job, and I have to just go and complete my syllabus, and that's the end of it? No, so we have to think about it. Next is, let's give the history of how outcome-based education came. We know it started in 1980 80. Okay, this term was coined by William Spady. But then over here we see what happens in 1988. He coined this term, and then it was a revolutionary change. Please understand, it was in our era only, somewhere around. I was also born around those years only. So the traditional shift from where we were just going to school, having notebooks, heavy bags. Nowadays, you go check your students' bags. They will hardly carry two notebooks if it is a college student. And nowadays, even in schools, they say that no bag days. So unimaginable few years back. If you ask your mother, your mother-in-law, or your old teachers, they will say, "How can such a thing happen?" It can't be still the same where the teacher used to prepare his or her notes, and we'll say, "Ma'am, please give us your notes. We'll follow and we'll make those notes." Gone are those times. Then in 1989, the Washington Accord, okay, it created to recognize engineering degrees obtained through the OBE system, promoting global mobility for engineers. So in 1989, this outcome-based education, to be very honest, to be very specific, this was much more useful in the engineering and in the medical line earlier. Why? Because when you are doing this kind of study, automatically your visibility is globally, and you need to not only be limited to your nation. So that's how this thing started taking place. Then in 1999, Hardin publishes a key report describing OBE as a performance-based approach. We all have to understand OBE is a theory. It's a theory which has to be put into practice. It is not something which you think that okay, if you form it and that's the end of it. No, it is something which has to be processed in our approach of what we are doing, and for each teacher your outcome will be different. Like if I have some outcome for my students, it will not be the same for your own batch of students, because my students will be different from yours. Maybe there are a lot of advanced learners in your batch, maybe in mine it is not. So accordingly we have to manage this. Then in the year 2017, according to the Washington Accord, there were almost so many authorities that eventually they gave the validation, and they said that outcome-based education is something which has to be incorporated. Now, this model of OBE, it was adopted by United States, and then obviously we know the developed nation, and it became the pioneer of this model of outcome-based education. Then Australia, South Africa, they also implemented the same. So we have to understand at one point of time, being in India, why is it that even though we are called as the ones to be the inventors of the number zero, and all these achievements are in hand, but still we have to follow something which has been set by somebody else? But then again, just to give you facts and figures, then came in this countries, Malaysia and Philippines. Again, they were quite successful of incorporating OBE in their framework. Then we can see that eventually, if you talk about statistics, Malaysia was the one which gave the maximum results, and the success rate of Malaysia was the highest. Now, let's talk about OBE and the impact globally. First of all, when OBE was incorporated, it improved the accountability and the clarity in the student performance. When you went to the class, or when they went to the class, they said that at the end of the semester, I want that you should be able to understand the difference between what you want to do and how you're going to set your future. If you have chosen, say, for example, arts, so what is your career goal? Are you going into competitive field? Are you going to become a professor? Or say, for example, if journalism is your subject, are you going to become a journalist? So that question should be triggering the students constantly. It should not be that, okay, I'll be a graduate and then that's the eligibility, and then I will think what I should be doing. No, from the first class of yours, you should be able to give that clarity to your student. There should be transparent assessment linked to the outcomes. It should not happen that your student will only get the report card at the end of the year. Earlier, we used to have, if you remember, we used to have half yearly and finals. and that's the time when everything used to be fixed. And then we would decide that, okay, this is you might be aware of this pattern where we used to have supplementary, where we used to have failures, and we have a lot of objection that now we don't fail our students. I also am a parent, and I also somewhere feel that yes, at times our education system is becoming liberal. But on the other hand, if you go to see that more than liberal, our present education system as per NEP, it is wanting us to give chances to our students. It's telling the students that whatever it is, education is one part, but then always if we have clarity of what we are doing, automatically we can become resourceful with things. Curriculum redesign for relevance and skills. Now you might have noticed it is not those same days where the book which I used to study, my younger sister will study, and then eventually you'll be proud to say that this is my fourth hand book. And see, when my sister got the book 5 years back, she had a new book, but I am now still maintaining it. I'm covering it. Maybe I just changed the covers, but the syllabus is the same. So this will not happen again. Curriculum has to be redesigned, and the relevance and the skills, maybe what was happening 5 years back is not needed now. You yourself might have realized that few years back AI was not there, but today AI is so much there. So maybe in the coming generations or the coming years, AI also will have a better version. So are we thinking in those lines? Are we revising it in that manner? Now, again, this is a very apt illustration I've tried to show. And challenges and criticism of OBE. Over focus on measurable outcomes may ignore creativity. If we feel that, okay, first division, second division, and third division is something which is there in our education system, and that's the way our child should be given marks. No. Even the student who you might have noticed who has not been doing all well in school life, at the end becomes the best businessman, because that person or that child knows the worldly wise ways. So have we given that exposure to our children? Again, coming to the second point, teachers' resistance and lack of training. We understand that we also have our own lives. We all also have our own way of dealing with things. So at times we also feel rigid that why should we, always keep on, means making a shift, and there is so many changes happening. But then somewhere or the other, that resistance has to stop, because this world is dynamic. Every day things are changing. We have to upskill. You might have noticed that when you keep on watching the social media also, it's never the same song that plays for more than 10 days nowadays. Earlier, we used to remember those songs and we used to be so happy that those songs had so much melody. That's a fact. But that's not the world which was there at that point of time. Those people in that era, they were the creative ones. They were the ones who moved from their comfort zones and created memories. But nowadays, it's a different world. So we have to adjust to that. Resource intensive and inflexible in diverse classrooms. So again, this is the challenge. There is a lot of information which is coming. Our students are different. Everybody is in a different frame of mind. So are we able to cater to various kinds of needs? That is again a question. Now, just focusing and making you all understand the first picture. This is a typical traditional kind of setup where the teacher was the one who said, okay, you have to do this, and we used to all listen. And until and unless the students were quite, please quite listen to what I have to say, and everything happened, and the teachers felt that if the teacher does not tell us something, we will not be able to benefit, so let's keep quiet and listen. But is it the same still? Even if the teacher is absent, the class goes on. There's a substitution. The child will go pick up a lecture. What is poetry? Put it on Google, do a Google search, maybe get a better answer, or maybe 4-5 more facts than what was discussed in the classroom. So can we escape the situation? No. You see the difference between the picture number 1 and you see the picture number 2. Don't you feel that, yes, both the things, that was the past and this is the present? And don't you place your own child, or don't you place your own self where you feel that, yes, I need that support from my sports teacher. I need that support from my parent, from whoever is in and around me to let me go up. because the child also is of this new era. So somewhere or the other, we have to contemplate. We have to change ourselves to see that evident change we want to see for our students. And this is, I believe, all of us might be quite aware. And this happened, I believe, only few days back. That now in Kerala, the way the teaching system and everything has happened, that there are no backbenchers. Don't you think that this idea could have come to our mind also? For sure. But the only thing is that we have that resistance of how we can do it, why we cannot do it. And then obviously our own institutions, our own seniors, just because the government implements, will incorporate these kind of things. So that rigidity at our point in our classrooms, that's why we say that the magic of a student's life happens in the classroom. Rest else is a part of it. And all these great personalities, Dr. Abdul Kalam, and whoever you name it, all of them are the ones who might have gained the spark in their classrooms. Now coming to the Indian context. NEP, it is again the initiative, new education policy. It encourages and it helps us to shift towards skill and outcome-based education. We are focusing more on the skill set. What are the skills that you have? Like say, for example, in a classroom again, I'll give example of my class. I know if it's a class of say 40 students, when I'm teaching them English major, all of them have opted for arts, but then are all of them going to be professors is not the guarantee. Some might just want to do it for a graduation degree. Some might want to really become professors. Some might want to be school teachers. Some college professors. Some wish to go abroad. Some want to, with this graduation degree, maybe they want to again later on go for maybe an MBA course, or some of them, they like photography, so they would like to become photographers. Some would just like to open, maybe nowadays you have so much of this makeover things happening. So do you try to enhance the child's skill in that manner when you are taking a lecture? That one chapter of yours, does it give dimensions of all those kinds, is something which you have to focus on. And like I told you earlier also, OBE framework first worked most relevant in engineering, pharmacy, and management. But then when they saw that these things were giving so much good results in management, engineering, then they said that why we not incorporate this in all the things that are happening in various deaneries or subjects. Like if you have noticed in IIMs and IITs, what do they tell the students in the final year? That you prepare a product of yours and you please go market it and you get the price of it. If that sells, if that works, then your internship is a success, otherwise not. Which means what you are studying, it actually has a relevance or no. That's the best time to be tested is during your graduation. Okay, then coming to the National Board of Accreditation. Again, they also mandate that we should have program outcomes, we should have course outcomes, and we should have program specific outcomes. If time permits, I will try to give a very common man example to explain to you that for your own respective paper, you don't need anybody. The mathematical or the marks part, the evaluation, and the thing that the exam cell will be taking care. But through your class, how your student will be meeting those specific goals is something which I'll try to explain to you. Let's move to a comparison between the traditional education versus the outcome-based education. Traditional education, teaching was there. We have to understand learning has to be there. Instead of the teacher-centric, it has to be student-centric. Fixed curriculum. Again, there'll be a generic feedback where what the whole class feels will be taken into consideration. But in the outcome-based education, what is the outcome of what the learner is studying? The curriculum will be flexible. Maybe in the first year, say for example, when our course was there for the first semester in 2024, it was having all these things in the form of syllabus. But then the same students, they give a feedback on the curriculum And then in the next board of studies, automatically there'll be a revision that, okay, this syllabus or this portion or this story is not relevant to our curriculum. It is better to have another trending topic. So that's how your curriculum becomes flexible. And then there'll be specific feedback. Like I told you, you might have noticed that please give curriculum feedback. And then in the board of studies, we have this opportunity of changing 20% of our syllabus. So is it just done for the sake of doing? Or do we really go through this process and ask our students, stakeholders, alumni, industrialists, that what is needed in the syllabus? And that's the reason why that committee which is there of the BOS is because of this. So are we still in the traditional mode, or are we in the outcome-based strategy? Same curriculum passed from generation after generation. Are you using your same notes which you taught to your students 5 years back and still we're using them? My dear teachers, we all are in the traditional mode. But on the other hand, have you taken time and you have prepared your lecture and your present class what they need? Are you working based on that? If you're doing it, it means we are in the right line and the right track. Focused on completing syllabus. I truly understand, be it OBE or be it whatever, we have to complete our syllabus. But then the mindset of what we are doing in our class, is it just to complete unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, unit 5? Or there are some value-based things that you are doing to help the student achieve their goals? In that same class, do we have one professor? Do we have a photographer? Do we have a journalist? And are you catering to all those needs through your lecture? That is the question. It's like just how a mother, she knows in the house that, okay, I have my father-in-law who is old. On the other hand, I have my daughter who is again somebody who will not like to have all the spicy and the oil-rich food. Then on the other hand, I even have my brother-in-law's maybe just a toddler who would like to eat something which is bland. The same kitchen gives different varieties of food, but it does not mean that we stress over it. So again, it has to be specific. Earlier, it used to be one size fits all. Just imagine you being the lady of the house or the person who cooks says, no, this is the food made. All of you all have to eat the same thing. How will you be tolerated? You have to think. No, again, it is performance based. Maybe in the class of 40, in the first test, 15 did really well. Okay, keep them aside, give them some target which can help you. Then you can come into this remedial aspect where you can tell, okay, you all are the advanced learners, please help the slow and the average learners, and let's make this 15 advanced. Let all of them come to that point. That's why you might have seen that nowadays we have this option of keep on taking assignments when it comes to formative till the student passes or comes up to that expectation. So yeah, that kind of a effort has to be put. Knowledge is assessed per obtained grades. Now, please understand, all of us have degrees. Is that degree worthy enough, or the skills that you have developed much more important? For documentation purposes, that degree is important, I understand. But then when all those things which have been taught, if they are tested in the school or in the college, automatically there'll be a difference. Assessment based on levels that track the learning skills. Do you constantly with your rubrics keep testing your child that, okay, yes, I'm an English teacher, so first my students, they could not read with the proper fluency, with the proper articulation, intonation, rhythm, but at the end of the semester I have made them do various things, listening to videos, practicing all of this, and then yes, they have been able to develop that skill. That is something which you have to keep in mind. Now again, little more on traditional versus OBTL. Now what is OBTL is something which I'm going to focus, but let's discuss some teacher related situations. Let's take, for example, I have the course learning outcomes. However, my learning content is not connected with the CLO. We fall into such kind of a things that eventually one teacher came, she prepared it, but now when I'm taking it, eventually what I have been teaching with that approach, it does not work. Then another scenario, I have delivered the content. However, I did not assess uh, what I have taught. Okay, now for example, what happens is you have given the entire lecture, you have done everything, but when it comes to the evaluation, that is given to someone else, or you have not assessed. So then again, that is a gap. So that gaps have to be managed. Another one is I have assessed the learning content. However, my exam questions are not directly related to the CLO. So all these things happens when we are not aligning the outcome of our students, because when we know that okay, this is the outcome at the end of the semester or at the end of the graduation that my student should be having, so automatically what you will be doing is you will be forming the course outcomes, you will be forming the program outcomes, the program specific outcomes, and the program education outcomes in line. But if you just feel that, okay, I've got the syllabus, I have to teach it, and then that's the end of it, it will not happen. In a student-centered learning, we are not the teacher. This is again a big red flag for all of us to understand, not in the not in the negative, but in the positive manner. We are not in that same era where the students used to depend on us. We are just the ones to tell them what they cannot see, what they do not know, and that will come only with experience. We have experience. We have to tell them how to deal with things. And I still feel that edge we have with our students, how we had students a decade back and the students of this present generation. We ourselves understand that nowadays it's not good morning, ma'am, and bowing heads. It's like, hi, ma'am, hello, ma'am, how are you? That difference, if we are able to accept it in a positive manner, only then this world will move in sync. Now there are certain OBE models which you can follow. I'll not, discuss at large, but then I'll just try to give you some highlights about the same. These are some models which you can refer to. I'll just see if I can give a little idea as to what it talks about. Just give me a minute. Okay, so now when we talk about outcome-driven developmental models, it means what we are doing is we are. This was something which was launched in the year 1970s, and it is originally described as a mastery learning program, where the major difference between this is that teachers take the responsibility for making sure that most of the students learn. In your class, taking an example of the 40 again, it's not that only 10 come in the merit and rest all are whatever they get, we are not bothered. Our duty is that at the beginning, if our bar graph of advanced, average, and slow learners is at a particular graph, that change, if it comes, the slow learners also become on that level where the slow gets negligible and they move to the next level. Only then we can say that this model can be utilized. So somewhere or the other, you can choose the model that you would like to follow. So one is the ODDM model. Then you have the next, which is called as the Spades model, again in which there are 4 principles. One is clarity of focus. What is the focus of your course? What is it that you're wanting to do? And it is like you are giving a lot of opportunities to your students. Okay, say for example, you're not able to write an essay. Okay, so you write one paragraph. If you're not able to write one paragraph, okay, you write 2 lines, but you have to speak to the point. So this is called as you are having expectations where you are setting the benchmark for each student in a different manner. I know it's difficult, but again, if we have clarity of what we are going to do, automatically it falls in place. Then we come to the next, which is called as the Mackerel's model, which involves writing performance tasks that specifically include elements of several difficult outcomes in one challenging task. What happens is there are many things that you're going to deal with one assignment of yours. So you give an assignment in such a manner that automatically various skills or things are monitored and they are dealt with through one very good question or very good task of yours. So you can just go and think more about it. These names are reflected over here. Now, why do we need this shift constantly? We are being reminded is the past. All that you studied, you might have noticed that nowadays students, they don't want to even have class test. Now it's not about memorization, that how well you know the answer. It's about, if I have been taught something, I will never forget it for life. So are we bringing a change in our examination pattern? Again, we had a refresher course, and then I even asked those organizers that how much ever we are doing, but at the end we are ending up with 3 hours and 2 hours written test. So then they said that change will not happen that soon. It will happen, but then again, what you have to do is you have to begin in a maybe smaller manner, and then gradually you can gear up for it. So that's why the formative assessments are still in our hand. So don't give the students literally assignments to do. Give them something which will really make them understand and work out things. I know we have huge, classes. We have big number of students in one group. So what you can do is give them a group activity. And wonderfully, I would say that students will love to do it. Present generation, it should be skill-based. There should be collaboration. Say, for example, one institution is having a particular kind of a lab. Okay, say for example, there is one institute which is having a very good setup for something. So that's the reason why nowadays NEP and all the education system says that we need to sign MOUs. Are we preparing our students as they complete their graduation to get a job? This is the real world readiness that we have to focus on. Today's learners demand purposeful hands-on education. They do not want to come, sit, the teacher will give lecture, and that's the end of it. They want that they should be able to think, they should be able to relate, and they should be able to understand. Again, the OBE framework, our learning outcome should be clear. The curriculum should be aligned. I'll again give a quick example. I hope I'm able to complete this. Then feedback should be taken not only at the end of the semester. It should be taken in between, maybe after 2 or 3 topics you have completed. Ask the students, are you able to understand what I'm teaching, how I'm teaching? Do you want any change? Do you feel that only the lecture method is not working? Do you want group activity? All of this has to be done. And maybe at times you think that this is working, but when you take a test and then you see that students don't know even how to write answers. So when will you check it? When you're checking their semester end copies, or you'll take a small 1-paragraph test or a short answer test and check them right away. That is again something which you have to monitor. Continuous quality improvement. You have to set standards. If 3 months you're teaching your students in a semester, because that's what happens if you go by anyways activity, everything happens. So have you kept some kind of a mechanism to monitor that? Again, our roles as teachers, we have to remind ourselves that we are not just going to deliver, we have to facilitate. It's just like how a rose plant is growing, and we are just like the gardeners. We have to, just loosen the soil. We have to give it the timely water. If there is no sunlight, we have to see that when there are sunny days, we should see that that rose plant gets the sun. If it is rainy, if it is too much rain, what mechanism are we doing? So now it is not the time where we are going to sit and change the process of, doing everything. That plant in itself is there. It only needs support. Institutions, they should be giving the training environment to teachers. And I believe IoT Academy is one wonderful platform who's helping us to do this. Students, they have to be active learners. Are your students passive? Do you let your students speak in the class? Again, a food for thought. Parents and employers expect skill-ready graduates. Employers, what do they want? They will not sit and train your child how to become an air hostess, how to become a defense officer, how to become a professor, how to do research, how to write a research paper. They want that the child, after a graduation, if he or she has completed her or his master's, should be able to write a research paper. Are we doing that with our students, or just namesake we are just one after the other just completing our syllabus? Importance of OBE today is we are accountable. If we say at the end of our progression report that our students have not got jobs, they have not decided whether they have to go for higher education or they are going for competitive. If your progression table has less than say for example 30% only accountable data and rest you're not getting data, it means somewhere or the other our OBE is a failure. Are students getting jobs with their skills which we have given them, or they have to go out and they have to gain more skills to get that job? That is again something where collaboration, extension, all of this comes into place. Is your graduation degree at your institution giving lifelong learning mindset? Or it's only when the child really gets into the life's rigmarole and then starts thinking that, okay, this is the life skill I had been talked about in one chapter in my class. Okay, this is what honesty means. Or you have really taught them what is honesty in the classroom. Challenges again, gaps in teachers training, language and curriculum diversity, resistance to change, slow assessment reforms. This last one I also agree, but then somewhere or the other, in your hand, how much ever as a teacher you have, you should take control. So take away from, eventually I would say from this lecture is, OBE is not a method, but it is a mindset. It's not something which, like suppose this lecture I've given and then OBE will do its magic. No, your mindset when you go for your class, you can ask your students what you want to become and then align it with your course. And if they've taken the wrong decision or something, you have to help them align with that. Focus on results, relevance, and real learning. Don't go for the marks distinction, because at times the person who has even got a distinction, you might have seen, and we all have a good laugh at that reel where there's an engineering college and the one boy, he enters and then he says, "Ye college kaisa hai?" And then the guard says, that security guard says, "College to bahut acha hai kyunki main bhi yahan se padha hua hu." So is it a thing to laugh on, or it is something which makes us realize that that same student, what did we do with his life? Could we not give him the right kind of things so that he also could have had a handsome and a good life? What was our contribution? India is progressing but needs caution and investment. That's why the reason is we are still targeting for Viksit Bharat 2040. So again, we are working, but then again, if it is more goal-oriented, we can work all the more better. The shift for us is what to achieve, not what to teach, because students will anyhow learn. For students, it is not just marks, because eventually students will come just for attendance and for marks. It is our duty to make them understand that it is not your marks, my dear student. Marks and your mark sheet will be lying in the cupboard. Only when you have to apply for some job, you will be taking a photocopy and giving it. But if you're competent enough, it will speak on its own. Institutions, you have to go and remind your institutions that it's not the number of students who pass out from your college that matters. We understand that, yeah, they also have a criteria for, eventually paying salaries to you, that they also need that much of intake. But then eventually you might have noticed that very good universities, you want your child to go and study in a very a renowned university. Why? Because over there the outcome is much better than the output. It's not the number of students, it's the kind of things that are taught to your child. Taking an example, say for example, you want your child to be a doctor. So what is going to be the outcome of it. This is something which you have to keep in mind. Like suppose if a child is going to become a doctor, so what is it that you expect a doctor should be having when he or she is completing the graduation or that course of his? He should develop clinical skills, perform and do practical procedures, investigate a patient, or it's only theory that is happening. So again, you might have seen like when a student who joins this field, don't you feel that the theory and practical all happens? So do we have the same kind of a thing in our classrooms is something that we have to ask. So yeah, this is all about it. And then I believe this point I will not be able to cover. And I have just one quick uh, way of explaining how with our syllabus we can incorporate this. So it's just like how you want to prepare, and your outcome based education is just like, I'm taking a very live example. I always give examples to my students also. It's like, say for example, you want a dish ready of gajar halwa. Okay, I hope everybody has eaten gajar halwa and knows what it is. So it's just like this outcome. So it is again something which is on a learner centric model, focuses on what students are expected to achieve. It emphasizes measurable outcomes over content delivery. If I go in the class and I say, okay, now students, you have to buy carrots, then you have to wash them, and you have to do blah, blah, blah. Students will like, okay, wow, we'll do this someday. And maybe they don't even remember which vegetable they have to buy to make gajar halwa. If you're doing it in the traditional manner, that I have to just, deliver them the information to make gajar halwa. Please and understand what we are trying to do. So now, what is the activity? The goal that we have to achieve is we have to make them prepare gajar halwa. What is the curriculum that we have to give them is the recipe. Recipe will be the curriculum. Ingredients will be the resources. Cooking steps as to how much you have to clean the carrot, how much do you, and what size of grating you have to do is something. And then the final halwa that will be ready is called as the achieved outcomes. Now quickly, so now the long-term vision for learners is graduates will be able to apply culinary knowledge to preserve Indian traditional food with hygiene and innovation. So this is our long-term vision. Next is prepare traditional Indian sweets using standard techniques. So don't you think that this simple thing also can give them a profession in a global scenario? They will be known for this. Ensure taste, hygiene, nutritional balance in desserts. So this is the program specific outcome. Like, okay, yeah, my students are learning this. Some other student might be learning to make something else. And then this is called as the generic competencies. How much ingredients of cooking. Eventually, you need teamwork and communication. If it's a group activity, how you have to maintain hygiene, because we know that at one place it is made so unhygienically, on the other hand, it is so neat and clean. And then you can always improve food-based feedback. Our course outcome is you should be able to identify the ingredients. Course outcome 2 is execute it step by step. You can't go take the last step first. You can't just directly take the raw carrot and you can't just garnish it with badam. No, it has to be step by step. You should know how to work in a team because it's a class activity. And then you should be able to evaluate the final dish. And then that's the way how your CO1 will map with PO1, how your CO2 will map with PO3. So that's the way your own syllabus you can map. And then eventually this is the rubrics. Ingredient chosen. If you've done it in the right manner, excellent, good, satisfactory. Did you maintain the hygiene? Was there teamwork? And how was the presentation? And then eventually this is the framework. And final dish is outcome achieved. I hope you can very well understand children who don't know how to cook, and when you tell them that you don't know how to prepare something, it means somewhere or the other that objective, the end was not thought in the beginning. So that's all from my side. And I believe I have compromised on the question answers time. So, ma'am, with your permission, if we have any comments or any feedback, we can always look out for that. And I'll stop sharing my screen.